Manipur, the beautiful state of India, Meitei are the resident of there, but some religious evidence told Bishnupriya Manipuri are the original resident of Manipur. In this video, discussing on those religious features of Bishnupriya Manipuri. A short history of the Bishnupriya Manipuri and their religion. Cultural consciousness. Unfortunately, the accurate period of the emergence or the development of religious consciousness of the Bishnupriya Manipuri is difficult to ascertain, but it is an old one that is undoubted, writes Rini Sinhagarhadi. Religious beliefs are found virtually in every human society. Religious beliefs usually relates to the existence and worship of a deity or deities and divine involvement in the universe and human life. Religious knowledge, according to religious practitioners, may be gained from religious leaders' sacred text or personal revelation. The development of religion has taken many forms in various cultural communities. The accurate period of emergence or development of religious consciousness of the Bishnupriya Manipuri is difficult to ascertain, but it is an old one that is undoubted. However, on the basics of the views of different scholars, prehistoric and historical remain, whatever is available, and from the logic of personal observation, we may put forward some viewpoints that are relevant. There is enough historical evidence that Bishnupriya Manipuri were the first ruling race belonging to Indo-Aryan group in Manipur, according to Jyotirmoy Roy. The Bishnupriyas are supposed to have been the first ruling race, and the Meiteis are supposed to have been the next immigrants. Their language is distinctly different. The Kalachayas, the Bishnupriya Manipuri language, is more akin to the Kamrapai tongue, and the Meitei language is more akin to the Bodo Chinese group. Their headquarters were Bishnupur, so named after tutelary deity Vishnu. Their language developed into a mixed dialect separate named Bishnupriyas to distinguish them from the Meiteis, who came afterwards in the history of Manipur. The Kaishamals and Moirangs were the ancestor of the present Bishnupriya Manipuri, according to L. I. Bohal Singh, the author of Introduction to Manipur. The rule of Kaishamals/Kamals extinguished in about 12th century AD, and Moirang in 18th century AD. At last they became the title holders, having seats in the court of Meitei kings. The history of religious consciousness of Bishnupriya Manipuri may preferably be brought under three stages: pre-Vaishnavite, Vaisnavite and Gaudiya Vaishnavism. The Bishnupriya Manipuri from the hoary past, where the worshipper of Vishnu is revealed from the Chinese records of 2nd century AD. But Vishnu image had been in Manipur as the family god of the ruling Kaishamal prince from the prehistory case. These indicate that the Bishnupriya Manipuri were the followers of Hinduism, and which is long before the advent of the Meiteis in Manipur. Lord Vishnu was worshipped in the 14th century AD, i.e., in the time of King Shripti and Kiyamba or Chinthamani, who were the descendants of Kaishamal dynasty. In the pre-Vaishnavite period, like the Meiteis, the Bishnupriya Manipuri worshipped Apakpa, Pakangba or Pahampa, Lamardu or Lamlai in Meitei, Kachakuri or vampires, which is prominent among them till today. Next came the stage of Bhagavatism as religious consciousness. The Bhagavatism is synonyms with Vaishnavism, which came to the foreground to Bishnupriya Manipuri. Most of the Bishnupriya Manipuri in that period were familiar with the incantatory name of Vishnu, which is clear from the rain-invoking songs in which names like Hari, Rama, Lakshmana etc. have been mentioned. The stage may be called precursor of Vaishnavism, which was mixed up with the indigenous practice of religion to some extent. The people of Manipur began to study the Mahabharata, Ramayana, and other stories from that period onward. The geographical isolation of Manipur on the one hand seems to be the major factor to resist the immediate indigenous transformation from the animism to any sector of Hinduism and Vaishnavism, and even Buddhism. On the other hand, the migration that continued no doubt was with its modification due to addition of new religious fold and practices. The Bishnupriya Manipuri were initiated to the religion of Sri Chaitanya during the middle of 18th century AD, but even before that time this people follow some other form of Vaishnavism, as is known from the Kumal Purana and other sources. It seems that early form of Vaishnavism followed by Bishnupriya Manipuri had some relation with the Vaishnavism of Sri Sankardeva, and the religion-cultural affinities between the Assamese and Bishnupriya Manipuris are due to that religious impact. Thus we say that Bishnupriya Manipuri were traditionally Vaishnavitized, but their conversion during the 18th century was only from Sri Sankardeva school of thought to Chaitanya school of thought. With the adoption of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, the lifestyle of Bengali Vaishnava society of 18th century AD gained acceptance to this society as an integral part of Vaishnavic way of life. Rasa Leela and Nada Sankirtana became the important feature of religious function. The impact of Chaitanya Vaishnavism was very deep in all sphere of the Bishnupriyas. In all rituals, non-vegetarian food is completely prohibited. It has no exception even in the case of disposal/cremation of dead bodies. It can be conclusively said that the information of Bishnupriya language and development of religious concept, culture, heritage etc. definitely took place in the soil of Manipur. Great majority of Bishnupriya Manipuri people fled away from Manipur and took refuge in Assam, Tripura, Sylhet, and in Kutch during the 18th and 19th century due to internal conflict/turmoil and repeated Burmese attacks. During the mass exodus that the Bishnupriya Manipuri carried their culture and heritage with them at their new settlements. In Manipur, their culture being gulped by non-Bishnupriya Manipuri culture, in Kutch and Bangladesh it is by Bengali culture, while in Assam by Assamese culture. Moreover, the present high-tech and IT civilization are an onslaught to the young members to the Bishnupriya Manipuri society, which is of grave concern and ominous today. It is difficult to find the existence of Bishnupriya language and culture. Gradually a time will come, if this trend continues, it will be difficult to locate any Bishnupriya. There is still time to save this culture from complete destruction and inhalation. For getting more story on Bishnupriya Manipuri history, please subscribe to this channel.